Working on my buttons over here. Multitasking. So I'd like to call the meeting of the Franklin Street School Committee, I guess, Building Committee together. Can you call the roll or attendance, Tammy?
Cindy, go ahead.
Michael McCabe,
Yes.
Michael McCabe, Stefan Zaporowski,
Yes.
Shannon Barry,
Here.
Stacy Burgess, Chris Carey,
He's not going to be here tonight.
Ray Diaz,
Here.
Ralph Figge,
Present.
Brian Perrette,
Here.
Shelley Hazlitt,
Here.
Bridget Matthews Kane,
Here.
Bill Parks, Brian Sullivan, Cindy Sullivan, Tammy Tepp,
Here.
Chris Tolpa,
She's not going to be here tonight.
and Lisa Benoit.
Here. Thank you, Cindy. Also in attendance is Jim Hannafan and Bert Gardner from Kalo and Beanick.
Thank you.
Okay. Mayor, you have the agenda in front of you, right?
You're on mute.
So I don't have the agenda and I don't have the capability of being off mute either. So I'm trying to find the agenda. Tammy, did you forward it to me somewhere?
I am going to I'll forward it again to you. How's that?
Because I don't think I have it.
That's okay. Let's get it to you. Next item on the agenda is public participation, if you'd like to entertain that.
Sure. Next item on the agenda is public participation. I open public participation for 3 minutes. Anybody who would like to speak publicly on the topic, and we'll let it go for about 30 minutes. That's my guess what the agenda says, Tammy?
Yes.
Okay.
You're getting good at this.
I'm like wheeling all over the place. So if you would like to participate, Peter, I'm not so sure how you want to do this. Is there a hand in the background and we're going to acknowledge a wave on a hand, or how do you want to do it? I don't see anybody. I'm looking, but I do not see anybody. So I would entertain a motion to close public participation. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is coming up to you shortly in 1 second. How about the summary of community correspondence?
There is none.
There is none. Super. About the approval of the October 2006, 2021 School Building Committee meeting minutes.
I just have one, Cindy, I just have one amendment we need to make on those minutes.
Sure.
I just need to recognize Mayor McCabe as the chair of School Building Committee, so that he can sign the minutes after the meeting.
Okay.
I didn't catch that. I apologize up front on that one.
Make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
But do we have to?
So you have to do a roll call.
Yeah, because
Do a roll
we're,
call.
yeah,
Ray, I'm giving you the hairy eyeball right now.
I know. I can feel it. I can really feel it. That's it.
Oh, because it was a virtual meeting. Okay. I get
That's
it. Okay.
right.
All right.
That's why virtual meetings are all by roll call.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Michael McCabe,
Yes, ma'am.
Stefan Zaporowski,
You're muted. Yes. There you go.
Shannon Barry,
Yes.
Ray Diaz,
Yes.
Ralph Figge,
Yes.
Brian Perrette,
Yes.
Shelley Hazlitt,
Yes.
Bridget Matthews Kane,
Yes.
Tammy Tepp,
Yes.
and Lisa Benoit.
Yes.
Super. Motion passes. Update from owner's project manager and designer.
Dan, do you want to do a quick update and then you can turn it over to Bert?
Sure.
contracts for both the designer and the OPM for the second phase have been sent to the mayor for signature. I don't know that I've seen the signed copies back yet on both. The MSBA portion of the project, we've updated them with an updated schedule based on the small delay in the appropriation. As you know, they send out emails on everything under the sun. And the designer has been working diligently on the design development portion of the project, which basically involves getting into the nitty-gritty of systems, and we've had about 2 meetings a week just trying to go through each little portion of each system, which is why the architect is about to get up and say his part. And we got some issues that I think are going to need some votes.
Thank you, Dan. Do you want to turn it over to Bert?
Bert, you're up.
Thanks, Dan. It's good to be back in front of the group again after a bit of a break. Hopefully I'm not too rusty. And let's see if I can share my screen. Looks like it. So this part I'm always rusty at. Making sure that I got the right screen being shown. Do you see the one with the full screen? Or are you guys seeing the one that says no notes, next slide?
No
We're
notes,
seeing the
next
no
slide.
notes.
I think that always happens. Let's see if display.
Okay.
Okay, so now I want to switch my camera, I think, since it switched my screens. You guys are seeing the full screen now, right?
That's correct. And we can see you.
All right, so let's get right into it then. Starting outside with the site plan, the overall organization of the project has not changed since we looked at this in schematic design. We have made some developments, which I can try to highlight here for you. Basically, if you can see my mouse, one of the changes we've made is we've shifted this maintenance building up against the National Guard fence. And one of the reasons for that is so that we can allow the service drive to it to extend beyond and create an area to stockpile snow for winter months when they're plowing that parking lot. And that's really the kind of changes that we've made during the design development, just making sure that everything that we had talked about previously works. And if there's any way that anything we hadn't thought about in schematic design, such as where we stockpile snow, we tried to incorporate that. Another snow stockpiling ad that we did is we have a fence around the play areas. So we've got a double gate there so that if we ever have to actually need more area to stockpile a larger storm, we can push it into that paved area, which is still a paved surface, so we can take it off site if necessary. A loader can take that, put it in dump trucks and haul it off site if necessary. That's pretty much what we did for snow since we last talked. As far as the playground areas, we're still looking at an early ed playground in the courtyard and grades 1 through 4 playground area out behind the school with the hardscape play as well. As we've been looking at those areas in design development, there has been some changes to what you saw, but overall, we're still looking at structured play equipment, similar to other installations you have in town right now. And then trying to find a balance between the structured play equipment and what's an appropriate level of natural playscapes that we can incorporate into the overall design of the outdoor settings. We also added to the basketball courts a handball wall, which serves dual purpose. It will actually be protection from stray traffic should it ever wander beyond its proposed lanes. So it just adds a little bit of visual privacy from the road and the parking lot, and also a little bit of physical protection for students that are in that hardscape play area during recess. At the front of the building, we've got an electronic sign that we are finally showing a location for. There was discussion about where that should be in front of the school, and it's our proposal for that location, at least, is to put it on the east side of the school near the bus entrance loop, because that's the direction most cars approaching the school are going to be coming from. So it's also a flagpole out in front of the building. And then we're still carrying the softball field and amphitheater in the back, and then the youth soccer fields. One thing that has changed that we've kind of reduced the scope of the project on is we had initially been talking about outside the gate, creating a connection between the school and the future multi-use pathway that will run along the top of the dike. We've kind of pulled that out because that project, we don't have a definitive timeline on that, and we don't know how that will develop and change. So we don't want to spend money putting a pathway connection there that may not ultimately serve the final design of that city feature. So moving inside the building, our biggest change since schematic design has really been a reorganization of the administration suite right here. But we also made some other smaller changes. We modified the media center a little bit, really just to strengthen the corner of the building from the outside. And that kind of led some subtle changes inside of the organization, but overall the media center program remains the same. We also moved some of our electrical closets around so that they align from floor to floor, which will save some money and ease the constructability, because the raceways that go from the first floor to the second floor electrical closets have to be rated. So we did that. When we get to the second floor, we'll show you some of the educational program impact that had, but it's all been pretty minimal so far. We had to add a pump room over in the receiving suite because the chillers required a pump room per our mechanical engineers as we made the final selection to make sure we were having chillers where they were going to be located. And this location just made sense. It's close to where the chillers are going to be outside, and we can get the piping from those throughout the building easily. The other thing that we did is we which I can show you a little bit better probably in the admin suite, but we've got a staff toilet room that was facing the admin suite. Right here, we turned the door out towards the lobby, and then there was another toilet room that was part of the PE teacher's office, which we kind of decoupled from his program and turned that door towards the lobby. And the reason for that is that our multi-user toilet rooms in an elementary school have little toilet seats and sinks for the kids that are shorter than us adults. So we wanted to make sure that we had public toilet rooms available to this public zone of the building that would be fully handicapped accessible for after hour or community events. So by turning those two rooms, we were able to satisfy that need. Here's the kind of enlarged plan of what we did with the general admin office. One of the things that was requested in the last phase that we incorporated, but in all honesty, probably not all as successfully as we could have, was a pass-through window from the vestibule into the office area. So that people that are just coming to drop off a forgotten instrument or a lunch during the day, if parents dropping it off for a student, they don't have to actually enter the building. So this is kind of a security feature where we can just have a pass-through and kind of minimize the amount of foot traffic coming through the secure doors and into the school zone of the building. We had the pass-through incorporated, but the receptionist had previously been over in this area. They'd have to come behind the desk and then up to the pass-through window to receive whatever item was being passed through. So we moved that whole reception area over to the outside wall, and we're able to incorporate this pass-through window right from the vestibule to where we'll have an administrative assistant working. So that just improves that efficiency a little bit. We also think that we improved the flow from the vestibule into the lobby and a better waiting area for the parents who might be, or a student waiting for a parent to dismiss them. Prior, the seating kind of dead ended against this wall here. So we feel that was an improvement. I had mentioned the toilet room already that we reversed. The other big change in the admin suite is the principal's office was always very large because it incorporates their office program needs with a kind of conference or meeting space need. So we decoupled the meeting space or the conference function from the principal's office and put it over here. This allowed us to keep the principal on the outside wall where they can help with supervision for anybody approaching the building. But it also adds flexibility to that meeting space. So previously, only the principal could really use that space because it was within their office. At this point, anybody in the building that can schedule time in that conference room. And we still do have the conference room, which is kind of right down the corridor here from the lobby on the other side of the lobby, on the other side of the elevator. So two really good sized conference rooms, plus we still have the meeting rooms on the opposite side of the vestibule, which are part of the media center for outside professionals that might be coming in to do a meeting in the school. When we decoupled the toilet room from the PE teacher's office, there's also a shower component to that. So we moved that over to the nurse's suite, which is shown here off one of the exam rooms. Just through the discussions during design development, we decided that that was a better location and it'll get a lot more use than a shower tucked behind the PE office. You know, so that change was made as well. Moving up to the second floor, I mentioned that the realignment of electrical closets, emergency electrical closets, displaced some of the previous educational program and it's really sped spaces. So we used to have the OTPT was located over here across from the toilet rooms, and we moved that over to this area of the building. The advantage of this is a student occupied space, the OTPT program, and where it had been previously located, they didn't have an outside window. Not critical to that program, but always a nice feature wherever we've got student spaces, student educational spaces, to have that daylight and some views outside. So we think that this is a good change, and it allows us to align some of the electrical closets, like I mentioned, and the office spaces that were here were the ETL and the school psychologist, which have moved over, and these don't have the same level of student interaction in these spaces. So the windows are not quite as critical. However, for the occupants of those offices, we do plan to do some interior windows, which will capture some borrowed light from the large curtain wall that faces out towards the courtyard. So, next slide. Another change that we made was not in the physical footprint or the layout of the room, but the cafeteria. As we were looking at the constructability of our roof line, we changed this from mass timber with exposed wood beams and wood decking to just more of a steel frame structure similar to the rest of the building. It'll be a pitched roof above. So as the room goes from low at the serving end, the ceiling grows from low at the servery side of the cafeteria to high at the opening to the stage. We're just proposing some wood acoustical slat ceiling clouds that kind of step up with the volume of the room as you approach looking at the performance wall at the stage. Similarly, when you're looking at the media center, I mentioned that we made some changes really to improve the massing on the outside of the building. But in the same way as the cafeteria, we eliminated some of the mass timber framing that we had proposed for this space, just to kind of keep the building systems to a minimum and more consistent throughout the whole building. And so when we eliminated the exposed wood structure there, we brought in the wood slat acoustical ceiling cloud here as well. And this ceiling type is still going to give us a nice warm feel that we're really going for with some of the exposed wood structure. So, and I think we have a rendering just looking the other direction through the media center towards the circulation desk. We've also talked more about the building materials from the exterior. I think that no changes proposed, but just kind of more development as far as what we're looking and a refinement of the palette and the materials that we're talking about. And this is some of what Dan mentioned. We're hoping to get some direction and some votes on this evening. We're still looking at brick or some kind of a masonry for the exterior. At the primary wall fields of the exterior building, we're looking at a red brick, similar to a lot of the public buildings in town and even a lot of the residences. And then at the base, a lighter color. And we've been talking about a larger cut stone sized masonry unit like an Ariscraft, which is a synthetic cut stone. And then looking at a lighter color. So the overall color palette of the building is like a beige and a red, which is very predominant throughout the city. We're still looking at using a fiber cement rain screen panel with a wood look to kind of break down the scale in some of the areas of the building and to add some relief to the masonry. And at the top, at the copings and the roof line, one change that we are looking at is we previously talked about using precast concrete coping stones to span from the outside of the wall back to the roof. We've kind of changed our direction on this a little bit, again, to improve constructability and hopefully save some money and improve the economics of the construction. We're just going to have our full bed veneer masonry come up to the top of the wall, and we'll use metal coping caps to span between our veneer, our masonry veneer at the outside, and the backup wall framing system that we have. And that'll create a very watertight situation to it. It'll be much easier for us to detail. So in turn, a lot easier for the contractors to build, less opportunities for any kind of errors in the construction that could lead to leaks. So I think that that's a good improvement. And this metal coping, it comes in all kinds of colors, so we can make it very close to whatever the masonry color is at the coping of the building at the top of our walls. So it'll kind of blend right in. So here's just to kind of remind people of how we're kind of planning to incorporate these materials throughout the elevation. Again, the larger masonry, we planned for the base as like a larger cut stone proportion for the masonry units. And you're talking like a 8 by 24 inch masonry unit, basically, which will have a look of just kind of a more monumental scale to it for the public building and the civic function of the school. Above that, we're looking at more standardized brick sizes. And as I mentioned, red for most of the school. However, at the media center and at the entry wall where the admin office suite is, we are talking about bringing the lighter color up to the roof line, just to kind of accentuate the importance of that location and help lead people to the entrance. So we are looking at some solar shades on your south and west facing windows to cut down on heat gain. This is the fiber cement rain screen panels that I was talking about that kind of break down the overall massing along the front facade of the building, and add some relief to the masonry and bring a warmer, cues from nature into the overall composition of the building's facades. We're still looking at having some gable or some pitched roofs on the elevations that face Franklin Street. So that would be the pre-K K wing in the grade level above, as well as the media center. I don't have an image of it because I didn't want to. I'll show it next time once we have a direction on what the massing on the media center is going to be. But whatever that is, we're going to kind of mimic when you get down to the far end of the parking lot. There's a stair that goes up to the roof, so that's a higher element. And we kind of want to mimic what's going on with the media center in the front corner of the building to kind of make that whole building elevation a little bit more appealing and to kind of bookend what's happening in between. So one thing that we've always talked about and we've included in our narratives for the cost estimators to carry is an entrance canopy, a canopy that will cover the sidewalk between the parent drop-off lane and then bring people into the school. We've never shown that because, quite frankly, we never got it developed to a point that we were satisfied with it during schematic design, but that's what design development is for. So that's one of the first things that we really focused on internally here at our office, is to look for what that wanted to be. And similar to some of the other aesthetic decisions that have been made on the building, we looked locally to Westfield to see if we could draw any inspiration from some of the precedent structures that you've got in your community. And what we found is the clock tower, at the bridge. And we really liked kind of the the lightness of the steelwork that incorporated, and we thought that might be an appropriate kind of aesthetic to put in front of the building, so that we weren't really taking away from the building massing and aesthetic that we were looking for there, but it was complementing it. So taking that, we've got a couple different options with couple different color schemes that we'd like people to weigh in on at the end of the presentation. And one of the things we liked about the light steel is that we could also bring kind of a wood look material as the underside of the canopies, whether that's actual wood, or if we go to like a wood look metal panel or something like that. That would be probably lower maintenance for you long term, but it would still look nice and still kind of bring the cues of nature kind of to the entrance of the building to draw people in and provide a nice warm feeling for people visiting the school. So this is option 1, option 1A, but option 1 really is looking at the massing of the tower on the corner of the media center, where we've got kind of the 4 gables. And then we've also got a gable profile on our entrance canopy to kind of set that apart from the canopy that leads from the parent drop off to that point, just so that it kind of draws people's attention right to where the entrance of the school is. In option 1A, the A is the color scheme. And this would be a scheme where the base around the building is that lighter cream colored or beige masonry material. It's got a little bit of a different texture map on it when it comes to our modeling software. So it's really hard for us to kind of get the materials colors to match if you've got like a brick face texture on the materials above, and then a slightly different face texture on the material below. So don't, I guess my point is, don't get too hung up on the fact that this is a little bit whiter than the masonry above. When we have a direction that we want to go in, we do have physical samples of the masonry here at our office that, we can either leave at a location for people to look at, or if we end up meeting in person. I think that one thing I'm going to ask at the end too, or suggest at the end, is that we consider meeting in person at a upcoming building committee meeting at the school that we designed in East Hampton, so that people can get a better feel for what these materials really are. You can see the things that we're talking about in person, and then when you're looking at these images on screens, you'll have something real to kind of cue back to in your memory to have a better idea of what we're talking about. So, but anyways, the colors will be closer probably than what we're showing here. And colors in general, don't get too hung up on them in the design phase. Just think about the direction we want to go with it and what the overall intent is, because every manufacturer that we put into our specifications will have slightly different color variations that once we get to construction, we'll have to bring samples to, physical samples of what the contractor chooses to put in the building, that we can look at what the actual colors will be. So again, 1A has the gable forms at the canopy and the tower, and similar, a light colored base around the building. This is option 1B. So again, still option 1 as far as the massing of the tower elements and the canopy profiles, but we switched to a brown base on the building. One of the reasons we did this is that through discussions, we're hoping to, or there was concern maybe about, splashback from rainstorms and the potential of the masonry coming down to the ground, staining, where the light color masonry would probably be more susceptible to that than a darker base. And actually, I think it came out pretty successfully when we did that. And again, we've got actual families of brick here that are in brown shades that if we like this direction, we can look at it. Similarly with the beige color base, we've got some actual samples here that we can look at if that's the direction people want to go. So this is option 2, which is a flat roof at the corner of the media center and a flat canopy leading up to the entrance. Option 2A, again, is the light base, the similar colored base that we have at the upper walls of the masonry and the entry piece. And then option 2B, same massing at the media center and profile of the canopy, but we switched to the brown base. And then I think the next images are just going to show option 1A, with a light base from a slightly different vantage point. Option 1B from that same different vantage point. And then we've got option 2A and option 2B, kind of looking more from where the buses exit. And I think that's all of my slides for this evening. So if people have questions, you want me to flip back and forth between some of these options, that's kind of what we're hoping to get out of this, is what the massing is. If we don't come up with a color direction, it's not the end of the world, because colors are easier than, whether we're developing, details for flat canopies or gabled canopies. We want to make sure that we get that captured for our cost estimate set. More than the color is important. However, I will say, if people like the brown base, the synthetic stone product, the Craft, does not really have a brown family without getting into custom colors, which can be expensive. So we would switch from a 8 by 24 inch masonry unit to a brown brick, which we can get up to sizes of 8 by 16 inches. So it's a little bit smaller, but the brick is considerably less expensive as well than the Craft or synthetic stone base that we've been talking about up to this point.
So Bert, thank you very much for that. Does anybody have any questions or any input for Bert? I see Ralph Figge. Go, Ralph.
Thank you, Bert. Very, very informative. Has there been any cost estimation between synthetic turf and real turf on the athletic fields?
We have not done that yet, but I can certainly get a number for that. We've done it in the past for other projects. And what we found, and this is pre-COVID and everything that's happening with pricing right now, but what we found is the premium is about the same as the upfront cost. The premium for the upfront cost of the synthetic turf is about the same as you spend on increased maintenance of your grass fields over a 10-year period. And the synthetic has to be replaced about every 10 years. So that's the way we've seen it on past jobs, but I can certainly ask our estimators to give me a comparison of that today in today's dollars, or what they're projecting the dollars will be mid-construction point of this project. So.
Thank you. And the other thing is I like 1A.
Okay.
Thank you, Ralph. Can we just hold off on the extraneous questions and stay maybe with 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and maybe get a feel for those and then move off into the other field areas? No disrespect to you, Ralph, but I think what he's looking for is to kind of get a summary of folks' feeling on the building itself. Can I ask you a question, Bert?
Yeah, of course.
Is there a tremendous value difference or cost difference, I should say, between, say, 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, or is that just predicated basically on the finished work?
There'll be the option one with the gable roofs will probably be a little bit more money, but I don't anticipate it would be huge money. And part of the reason for that is you've got the gable roof, so you've got the framing of the gables. You've also got, which all of our pitched roofs, I'll say, are really kind of false roofs, but you've got to put shingles on those where the flat roofs are membranes. One of the COVID impacts right now is rigid insulation that would go on a flat roof. So, that you'd save a little bit of money there by going to your gables, but you got a little bit of increased labor constructing the framing for the gables. So, I think it will in the end be a little bit more for the gables, but not like a deal breaker amount more, I don't think. So I think that the savings between like the synthetic stone that we were talking about on the base to a brick would more than offset the difference in the roof lines.
Anybody else have any preferences as to option choices I'd like to express? Bridget Matthews Kane.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I prefer the ones myself. I like the gable roof. If maintenance weren't an issue, I'd pick 1A, but because maintenance is an issue, I can imagine in like 7 years, that lighter color could look pretty distressed. So I guess I'd prefer the 1B just because of maintenance issues. But I like both the gables.
So 1B, let me just go back and make sure we're looking at it. This one with the brown base then. Okay.
And can you put up 1A for a second?
I can. So it's really just, if you look, cue into the color along the bottom of the building here between these two.
Mr. Figgy, for a second time.
Well, hey, on 1A, the lighter stone at the base, is that covered by the roof of the overhang?
It is at the media center, but this base extends around the full building.
Okay, I see. Okay.
You can kind of see beyond in this picture where the red brick comes down, and once you get back to the classroom wing there,
Mhm.
so that extends around the entire building.
Okay,
Whatever we do with that.
perfect.
Tammy?
Or just a question, I know you and I have talked a little bit, the entranceway, did you look at the massing if you didn't use a flat? Because I do not like the flat roof at the entrance. I am more inclined to a flat roof just for maintenance and for cost. Brian will appreciate that, because obviously constructability, a flat roof is easier, but I do not like the flat roof at the entranceway. I'd love to see it with the pitch roof there.
So we did that. We did do that, Tammy, and it didn't make the cut for the presentation tonight. And the reason is where the walls are, the vestibules, the proportions just didn't work for it.
Okay.
Because of the width of the vestibule. It really wanted more presence than we could give it without adding a lot of structural framing just to hold that up. At that, it wanted to be wider than our vestibule in order for the the proportions of the gable element at the entrance wall there.
No, I meant instead of doing, so I would say option 2, but instead of the flat roof over the entryway, a pitched one.
So this, but with a
I
gable
don't like
here.
that. Yeah, I don't like that. Sorry. I'm very opinionated on that.
No, but that's an easy thing. If people liked this piece, but felt strongly that shouldn't be flat, we could come up with that, say, for the next meeting if we wanted to.
Yeah, I think my concern is that I want the entryway to be, I don't want to say a showstopper, but I want something, and that is very underwhelming to me. But again, my idea with a flat roof on the media center is more just constructability, ease, less access points for leaks and all that. Brian, am I getting it right?
You always do.
Oh, boy.
See you later, Brian. We're good. But I think that, I mean, obviously, that maintenance is a key factor, and I know Brian has understands more of that roof lines than I do. So
So the life of the roof itself, flat or pitched, pretty similar. The asphalt shingles these days, they last a long time. Your membrane roof is about 20 years. I think an asphalt shingle is 40 to lifetime. But that said, there is, like I mentioned, and it's a little bit more labor to frame that pitched roof than it would be for the flat roof, for sure. So, and then if there is a need to work on that roof, it's obviously easier to work on a roof you can stand on than it is to work on a roof that's pitched. So I think that's really the key pieces of where the premium in your maintenance might be on a pitched roof as opposed to a flat roof. I don't think that materialistically or performance wise, there's a whole lot of difference, but if an issue does come up, then Dan's going to correct me.
So Dan, AKA iPhone 3, go ahead, you got the floor.
I'm sorry about the iPhone 3, Mr. Mayor.
That's all right.
I mean, I honestly, the difference between the two construction-wise, I think is a little greater than being stated. But I also think that we really should try to do what people want until we get this first estimate back. You know, this isn't the last estimate we have, and we can always change it. And I know Bert doesn't want to hear that because it'll be a change to his structure, but it's not a major change.
It's not a
And I
major
think
change.
that I think we can, if we're inclined to go gable and it can live within the budget of the city and the wishes of the mayor, I think we should go down that path through design development and let's see where the numbers come in, because we can certainly take it out and save money later.
And that's a good point. When we do our estimates, and because the budget is a priority, so, you know, it's got the priority it does on, it's a priority on every job. But on, you know, we've been specifically tasked to look for places to save money on this project. I built into the schedule when we get our estimates back, time to identify VE items. And I've been keeping track of that as we go through our meetings every couple days here. When things come up that I think are something that we could look at, I've been keeping a tally of that. And this can be one of those things that I, even at the estimate phase, ask our estimators when he's estimated, okay, so this is what we're asking you to estimate with these gable roofs, but, you know, give me a number. What would the impact be if we went to a flat roof right here? So we can do that easily.
Anybody else, Brian, Brett?
Yeah, Bert, can you show option 1B from the other angle, please? Net cost estimate, we're gonna cover snow guards for that, correct?
What's that?
We're gonna
Yes, we'll have
carry
snow guards on that. Yeah, we don't,
I can't
it's a
help.
lot of effort to model them.
Yeah, I can't help but notice a small child running underneath and in a snow.
Yes.
You know? Just saying.
This poor kid right here in a snowstorm, right?
Yeah,
We'll have snow guards on those, absolutely, yes.
So along the same line and the same question, is there a break between the canopy and the flat roof to the left?
There is, very
It's
perceptive, Mayor.
There's like water.
And the higher one
there.
kind of overlaps it, so there's not a gap.
That's
where
all I
you might
want to
get
know.
rained on, but there is a break between those two. They're free from each other structurally.
Tammy.
So just, Brian, what was your opinion? I know we talked about the lighter brick on the bottom. And it was a clean thing, wasn't it? I know Chris Tolpa had some concerns too with the lighter.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously darker colors takes a little bit more abuse from graffiti marking, you know, water infiltration, and then dirt and dust landing on those, mold growth. You know, we go with a lighter color. It's going to show the growth on the building a lot quicker than the brown is. And just seeing, you know, past experiences in the city with us not having enough manpower at times to do some of the, we call extra cleaning items. You know, it's just an item that I see for down the road that is going to be problematic, where we're going to have a lighter colored, you know, color on the bottom, and it's close to where people can get at it. And also, you know, where a lot of the dirt and the rain splash happens. And we got to remember, we're looking further down the building. Even in this photo on the right-hand side, there's no overhang there. So all the rain and all the splashback that's hitting all the grass and all the plantings right there is going to splash back up. So, you know, I'd like to try to minimize this building aging out or getting disgusting looking after a couple of years.
Thank you, Brian.
Anybody else? Bridget Matthews Kane.
Thank you. I just want to echo what Tammy said. I'd love to see the picture of like a option 3 with the pitched entrance and the flat roof over the media center. And the more I think about it, the reason I like the pitched roof for the entrance is, as a parent, if you show up in a new place and there's this huge building and you're looking at it thinking, where do I walk in the first time? Like if it's the pitched roof, you know immediately where to go. I think that's part of what I like about it. So I just wanted to echo, I'd love to see Tammy's idea visually. Thanks.
Ralph,
I really like the one with the pitched roofs. And I'll tell you why. It's on the corner. It is a landmarks location. I think that twice the roof life of a flat roof is encouraging, even though it's a little more expensive. And as far as the color of the bottom stones, I have no preference whatsoever. If you want to go with red brick on that, that'd be fine too. I mean, to me, that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to light color due to mold growth and other issues that have been brought up. So, but I really do like the corner with the gabled roofs.
anybody else? I'm a 1A guy, as you could tell by the new name that I have. But let me tell you why. Can you flip back over to 1A for a second?
Yep.
And I realize I'm the new guy on the block, so I don't really have a vote, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. Can you throw that from the side for a second?
From the other side?
Right.
Yeah, let me just scroll through. I think this
Let
is
me
it.
tell you what I see there. I see the train station. I see Westfield brick. I see architectural design that's pretty cool. And I see a canopy that allows for people to go in and out. And I'll take it one more step. I also see Westfield stone. So I see Westfield brick, Westfield architecture, and Westfield stone in an inviting atmosphere that actually looks to me like an older train station at the Iron Horse. That's what I see there. And I think it's really cool. That's my pitch. That's it. That's all I got. Brian, I don't know who Brian is. Brian, no name.
Sullivan, thanks, Mayor.
Hi there, Brian Sullivan. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing phenomenal. I got on, by the way, at 5:10 in case they're taking notes. Is one of these pictures a view from Franklin Ave,
No.
the main drag?
So not really. Those are more front. We don't really have one from the east of the school looking west towards the school.
Yeah,
From
okay.
Franklin Avenue.
That's fine. I just wanted kind of a visual what most of the traffic going by the school is going to see as they go by. If that ever comes around, it would be kind of neat to see what the majority of people will see it.
Yep, it's just moving a camera and running the rendering.
Right.
So
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Is there anybody else? Saying nothing further, should we go on the discussion on the site visit? Tammy,
Mayor, sorry, did anyone have any questions of the presentation other than, because we did have some changes, so I wanted to make sure everyone was okay with some of the changes that the design team has been making.
You know what I want to mention on that, Tammy? Thank you for circling back. Is that because the program spaces, the educational program spaces on the second floor that moved are special education. And this is really just a formality and a box we have to check. But we have to resubmit to DESE because we moved special education programs from what they had approved. We're going to do that at the same time. Our plan is to do that at the same time the cost estimators are looking at the numbers for the project so that there's really no delay, and hopefully we'll have their approval by the time we make our actual design development submission to the MSBA in June. But it's something we have to do.
Thank you, Bert.
Do we need a motion to approve those changes for that to happen?
What's it take, Dan?
I'm not sure where we are on it, Ralph. to be honest.
Okay.
I don't think it would hurt, Ralph, in case they ask, but I honestly don't think it's going to be a big deal. DESE's going to perfunctorily approve these because you have a well spread out SPED program in this school, and that's really what they're looking for.
Okay, I just want to make sure we dot our i's and cross our t's.
Tammy, you good?
Yep, I'm good.
How about a discussion on the site visit?
So, I can take that one just a little bit. So, Bert and his teams have done, the East Hampton school that is actually open now. And so one of their suggestions had been the school building committee be able to go visit the site, to be able to see some of the material, some of the flooring, some of, all the stuff they've talked about, be able to actually see it in real life. So I'd like to entertain, some thoughts on, as a group, we visit the East Hampton Elementary School.
And as far as the hours, it's pretty flexible. If people prefer the afternoon when school gets out, we can have access. But if people prefer the evenings because they're working during the day, the building's open until 10 p.m. with the maintenance staff. So we can have access basically at your discretion, whatever works for the committee.
Doesn't matter to me. Whatever you guys think is best, I'm pretty flexible. Schedule's wide open.
Are there any thoughts from the rest of the committee as far as doing like the next meeting? Oh, Ralph?
I'd love to do the next meeting in East Hampton, and I would think that the late afternoon, early evening would be my preference as times.
I agree with Ralph because we need to see the outside materials in daylight hours.
Correct.
Could I ask just a favor that those days be either Tuesday or Wednesday, as school committee and council are Thursday or Mondays and Thursdays? So
Second.
make it a little difficult.
For a site visit to something like 4:30, 5 o'clock, what is the will of the committee?
Sure. Propose a site visit at 5 o'clock on Tuesday, pick a day.
Okay. I'm just checking schedule.
I think I'd have to accept a motion for that, however.
Yes, so, I was just looking at some of the calendars to see what type of meetings are happening next week.
He's not good for L&O.
So keep in mind too, Tammy, Tuesday next week, I'm in East Hampton
Oh, that's right, you are in East
for
Hampton.
their building committee meeting.
We'll just crash their meeting. What's the problem, Bert?
Fine.
We can do Wednesday though. That'd be fine if you want to do it next week. Wednesday works.
How does that work for the committee? Does Wednesday, the 30th at 5 in East Hampton work? Do we want to take a motion?
I have a meeting with actually 3 of the people on this call at that time that I'm more than happy. I'm not more than, it would make me sad to cancel that meeting, but I could certainly cancel it to go out there. We can actually do it out there.
We can look for the next week if you want. Bridget has
We don't need that meeting because we're not having council that Thursday because it's the 5th Thursday of the month. So can't.
Perfect. Perfect. Now I just had an opening, Tammy. We have an opening.
Thank you.
Take it quick.
Okay, does somebody want
Ralph, you were at that meeting, Ralph.
Well, I didn't have it in my calendar because we didn't have council, so I didn't put it in, so.
So I make a motion to have the next meeting be a site visit, March 30th at 5 p.m. in East Hampton.
Second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Tammy.
Nope, thank you. So Bert, will you handle scheduling that for me?
Yes, I'll coordinate with East Hampton for access, and I'll try to get those couple renderings that were requested done for that meeting too. And whether I end up having something electronic to show you how their screens work or just printed copies, I'll make sure that we bring something so people can see what those look like.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Bert, will there be any chance it may be a side view, kind of just a mock-up of from the Franklin Street side?
From like the Franklin Avenue that was requested?
Yes.
Kind of what the traffic will see?
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of the 2 I'll do. I'll do that one, and then I'll do the one with the flat tower, but a gable entrance canopy.
Okay.
So.
Super. Discussion on subcommittees. Tammy, until I get up and running, I gotta keep deferring to you, so.
Nope, that's okay. So discussion on, actually, could we just go back to 7, discussion on meeting schedules? So I'd like to set, and I'd like a motion from the committee to do this. I'd like to set a specific time to start having these school building committee meetings where we're meeting either once a month, every other week, whatever the will of the committee is. So that I can get these on the agenda for everybody, because I know people's schedules start to get tight. And I'd also like the committee to make the decision on whether or not you'd like to keep these over Zoom, or did you want to move to in person? I am fine with either one. I just need to know what you guys would request of me.
Well, I personally have enough room here in the office, in the conference room. I could have everybody here. So I kind of like face-to-face meetings. I get it if it's not convenient for other people, but my preference is always face-to-face.
So we just got to make sure that the public is able to be at the meetings, because these are all public meetings. So as long as we can bring chairs in to the space, Mayor, that would be wonderful.
I think we need to do a face-to-face just so you can see materials too, because he's going to be bringing samples and stuff at some of these meetings.
I think we'd have to, I think we're timing out of legally being able to have these on Zoom as well. I think the governor's order is going to expire. And I think you'd have to check with Shannon to make sure we could even do that.
I'm pretty sure it goes till July. I think that's what Pete told me.
July. Oh, okay. Thanks for the clarification.
But I agree, face-to-face, I think it's time for us to be face-to-face. I just need to have space to do it. And is there a time during the week people want to do it?
What about a school?
Yep, we could do a school.
Because that way, if people wanted to come for public, this is a public meeting, there'd be room for them, and we won't be on top of each other.
That works. We could have it at Franklin. Plenty of parking.
Yeah.
Could I jump in a second? Somebody's got an open mic that's reverbing. So can you just check your mic? I think it's the 0240 though. I don't know who's got that one. But anyway,
that's
go ahead.
me.
That's Cindy. That's our, she takes our minutes for us.
Got it.
Tammy,
No.
I'd like to suggest we use council chambers so we could possibly broadcast these things and record them so that the public would have more access to them. I think if we're looking for a site, council chambers is probably the best.
Pete, can we broadcast live from Franklin as well, or does it have to be the chambers? I'm only one saying that because, so how many are on the committee total, Tammy? How many are you down to or up to, depending how you look at it?
We have, I believe, 16, possibly 15 now.
Yeah,
Can
we have
Can
13 seats around where the council sits, and we can easily add a few more.
Okay.
Brian Sullivan.
Can I just throw in my 2 cents? If we're talking about the public coming and we want the public there, the only way to get the public there is to move the meeting into the neighborhood where all the families are going to be living. They're going to have interest in this building. So if we can get the school, why wouldn't we have it there so that some of these people can come listen to some of these meetings in person?
Brian, which school?
Franklin. Right?
Or
And or
could we alternate?
It's the same. We don't have to, that would be that way too. But the gym auditorium in Franklin is not a bad place for a meeting. And if you're going to get parents and maybe even students to get interested in seeing how it's coming and getting how it's going to look, they might come to the school.
Does it make sense to also, so that Abner doesn't feel left out, maybe have a couple meetings there down the road too?
Agreed.
I would just caution us trying to have meetings at either one of those schools in middle of August and July.
Actually, Brian, that's perfect timing, except for us.
We're going to be in t-shirts and shorts.
Yeah.
Right.
Superintendent, is Abner handicapped accessible?
So if they go in and we would go to the Kappa Gymatorium, if you go into the right, you don't have to go up the stairs.
Did
Trying
they
to
serve
think-
turducken at the Cabot Gymatorium?
But say that again, that's a lot of.
Do they serve turducken at the Cabot Gymatorium?
Oh, they could that night if we asked.
Only on Thanksgiving, Mayor, only on Thanksgiving.
But I think our first one should be at Franklin. We can investigate Abner after.
I
Do
mean,
we need custodial overtime? I was just thinking.
No,
If it's less than 100 people, I think we're good.
Okay.
And I don't anticipate 100 people coming. Do you?
I would love to say yes, but no.
Okay. Just,
you probably have the same amount of people as you had it the last time you had it there, right?
yeah, I think we had about 42 maybe.
Yeah, I can't imagine there'd be too many more than that.
No.
All right.
So the first Wednesday of the month or the second Wednesday of the month, would that work for people?
Yes.
Any opinions?
Is that every month through July? Is that what we're saying?
Yes, I would try to set, I just want to try to set a schedule. My goal is to set it so that people know when the meetings are, instead of me trying to pull them together at last minute and then trying to make sure I've got everybody here for the meetings for quorums and stuff like that.
So can I help you out, Tammy? Tell me
Sure.
what month you want to start with.
Next month.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to start our new monthly meetings on the second Wednesday of April at Franklin Avenue School to start, and we'll figure out the location moving forward after that. But the intent is to go every second Wednesday of the month until we don't need them anymore.
Second.
So I make that motion. I don't think the chair can make the motion. I make that
That's right.
motion. Brian
Second.
seconds it.
Any further discussion? Oh, Ralph, yes, sir.
I'd like to amend the motion to be at 5 PM.
At 5 PM.
Yes,
Motion's been, is there a second to the amendment? There we go.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
does this affect the site visit?
No, because the site visit will be the 30th at 5.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
We can't get enough of you guys. It's the way this is the way we're rolling it out. So motion has been made and seconded to move the meeting till 5 o'clock at Franklin Avenue School every second Wednesday of the month until we no longer need the meetings. Is there any further participation? Seeing none, I think we could do this by voice vote. All those in favor?
well,
Oh,
Roll call.
we need a roll call. Thanks, Ralph.
Michael McCabe,
Yes.
Stefan Zaporowski,
Yes.
Shannon Barry,
Yes.
Ray Diaz,
He had to leave for an appointment. Is he still here?
He's gone.
No. He had to leave for an
you know
appointment.
what time,
I
what time
think-
he left?
Yeah, I think it was like 5:40.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ralph Figgy,
yes,
Brian Perrette,
Yes.
Sally Hazlet,
Yes.
Bridget Matthews Kane,
Yes.
Brian Sullivan,
Yes.
Tammy Tepp,
Yes.
and Lisa Benoit.
Lisa had to leave and she left at 5:50.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Motion passes.
Thank you, everybody.
Tammy, you want to do subcommittees?
Sure. So, we don't really have anything to vote tonight, but I did want to bring it up and I'm going to have Dan just talk real quickly to this. We will be setting up subcommittees. And so for the next meeting, Dan, I would like to have a list of the subcommittees that you'd like us to set up for the project that we can vote and put members into. Yes,
Tammy,
Dan?
Can you repeat that? You faded out there for a second on my phone.
Sorry. So you and I talked that at some point we're going to need to set up our subcommittees for some future stuff that is going to be coming down the pipeline for the project. I'd like to try to have a discussion about that at the next meeting and actually put the subcommittees together and vote on those and the possibility of who's going to be sitting on some of those subcommittees and if it's going to have a wider breadth of people from the community, schools, the teachers, etc.
I mean, we're gonna need subcommittees for FF&E. We're gonna need a subcommittee for technology. And, you know, all the way through purchasing of both, including colors and so on and so forth. That will come back and be voted on by the building committee. And on playgrounds. Believe it or not, playground, the final design of playground gets a lot of scrutiny. And usually by parents and by students. I know that Bert's cringing as I'm saying these three things, but those three items usually get a lot of discussion. Colors, the whole committee will be doing the colors, I think, because you're going to get a whole palette based on what is submitted by the general contractors when the time comes. So it's I hate to call it a color committee, but we don't really need one. We just need the whole committee to be focused when we get ready to bring in the samples from the general contractor after the bids.
Okay. So thank you. So you'll put together something, we can work on something to present on the 6th.
Yeah, I'll put together a narrative for the three, and you know, we'll probably need 5 or 6 people for each one.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate
It's a
that.
lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Mayor, that is it for that. I just wanted people to be aware that we're going to start setting up the subcommittees, and that discussions will be held as far as who's going to be on them, what type of public participation you'd like at the subcommittees, that type of stuff.
Once again, Tammy, I am in your debt. Any other items not reasonably anticipated 48 hours before the posting of this meeting? Is there a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Take care,
Never
everyone.
let
See
me have
you,
the roll call.
see you in East Hampton.
Michael,
Thank
Thanks,
you, Dan.
Dan.
Michael McCary,
Yes.
Stefan Zaporowski,
Yes.
Shannon Barry,
Yes.
Ray Diaz. Oh, he left. Ralph Figgy,
Yes.
Brian Farrett,
Yes.
Shelley Hazlitt,
Yes.
Bridget Matthews Kane,
Yes.
Brian Sullivan,
Yes.
and Tammy Taft.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.